Hi guys, in this video I will show you how to use CSS Grid to make your website. So I think CSS Grid is a great way of styling your HTML elements. So as you can see here, we have a website with a header, some body content and footer. In the body we have 3 rows, with first row having 3 columns, second row having single column, and third row having 2 columns, with one being small and one being large. So I have achieved this using CSS Grid. If I had not used CSS Grid, I would have to write a lot of CSS rules like margin, padding and whatnot. So yeah, if you also want to learn how to use CSS Grid in your websites, continue watching this video, and by the end of it I'm sure you will have a basic idea of how to use CSS Grids. So let's get on with the video. So here I have some HTML content which is not styled. So let's style it using CSS Grid and achieve something like this. So I'll go to my code editor. Here I have this index.html file in which I have a header which has a class name of header, and I have put the links in one div with an ID of links. So let's first style our header. So I'll write dot header display grid. Next I'll write grid template columns. So the first column will have a width which is automatically set, and next I'll write repeat 4 times 1fr. So what this means is that I'll have 5 columns in my header. The first column will have a width which is automatically set, and the remaining 4 columns will have a width of 1 fractional unit each. So if I save it and go back to my website, I can see that the logo and links are on the same row now, but still I want this link to be on the bottom right hand corner. So for that I'll go back and I'll write hash links because it is an ID, and write display grid. Next I'll write grid template column auto, and next I'll write grid row. So I want our links to be on the right hand corner at the bottom. So for that I'll write grid row 2, which means that the link should be on the second row below the logo. So logo will be on the first row and the links will be on the second row. And next I'll write actually first save it and see how it looks. So as you can see, the logo is on the first row and link are on the second row, but I want the links to be on the right hand corner. So for that I'll write grid column start 5. So what this means is our links will start to appear from the 5th column. So if I go back, you can see that our links are on the 5th column. So how you can check if there are 5 columns exactly in the header is if you right click and go to inspect, and if you hover on your header tag, you can see that our header has 5 columns with 2 rows, and the first row has company logo and the second row, 5th column, has our links. So this is all for our header styling. Let's style our body content. So first what I want is I want one column which has one row which has 3 columns of equal width. So in my index.html I have a main class which has 3 paragraphs and it has a class name of main. So I'll write dot main display grid. Next I'll write grid template column. So what I want is I want 3 columns, so I'll write repeat 3 times 1FR, and if I save it and go back to my website, you can see that we have the first row which has 3 columns. Next, I want the text of this row 1 to be properly aligned. So for that, I'll go back to my editor and I'll write justify content space evenly. Next, I'll write text align justify. Now save it and see. So you can see the text is aligned on both the sides, but there's no gap between the columns of the row. So for that, I'll write grid column gap 20 pixel. Let's save it and see. So now you can see that the text is aligned properly and there's equal gap between all the columns of the row. Next, I'll just add a border to each of this column so that you can properly differentiate between each of the grid elements like this. So for that, I'll go back and I'll write dot main p, that is the paragraph we are targeting, and there I'll write border 2 pixel solid black. Let's save it, and now you can see we have the border for our grid elements. Next, we'll move on to our second row, which is this one. So right now it is spanning only 1 column, but we wanted to span all the 3 columns, so something like this. So for that, I'll go back to my code editor. So in my index.html, you can see that this is the paragraph which we are talking about, and it has an ID of text1. So I'll write hash text1, and in here I'll write grid column. So it needs to start at column 1, and then I'll specify at what column I want it to end. So you can write -1, and it what -1 means is that it will end at whatever number of columns it has. So I'm writing -1, or else I can also write now actually let's save it and see what happens. So if now you can see that it's spanning all the columns of the row, but instead of -1, even if I write 4 here and save it, so you can see it still spans all the columns. So let's make it -1, and that's it for our second row. Now we will move on to our third row, and what we want in our third row is that one column should be smaller and the other one should be bigger, so something like this. So for that, what I will do is I'll go back to my code editor, and in the index.html you can see that we have a div with an ID of text2. So in style.css we'll write hash text2, and in here I write display grid. Next I'll write grid template column, repeat 4,1fr. So we want 4 columns of 1 fractional unit each. Then I'll write grid template row, and I'll write 1fr. So I just want 1 row to be there, so that's why only 1fr. Next I'll write grid column gap. So I want a gap of 20 pixels so that it differentiates from one another. And now let's see what it looks like. So now you can see that if I hover over it, you can see that we have four columns. But what I want is this column should be as it is, but the second column should span all the 3 columns. So for that, what I will do is I'll go back to my code editor. In the index.html, I will give this paragraph, the second paragraph, an ID of, let's say, text to item 2. So I'll go back here, and here I'll write text to item 2, and I'll write column, grade column. So I wanted to start at second column and grow up to the last column. So for that I'll write 2/-1. Let's save it, and now you can see that it spans all the last 3 columns, and the first one spans only 1 column. Now we want the text to be justified, so for that I'll write justify content space evenly text align justify. Let's save it and see. So you can see here the text is properly aligned, but here it is not. So what we will do is I'll go back to index.html. I'll also give this an ID of text to item 1. Go back here, and I'll write hash text to item 1 text align justify. Let's save it and see. So now you can see the text is properly aligned in the first column as well. And now we'll just give border to differentiate between all of them. So I'll just copy it from here and paste it here and here. Now let's see. So now we have the border, and now you can see we are almost done. So we just want the footer to be in the center like this. So for that I'll just write hash, actually I haven't given any ID to the footer, so let's just write footer text line center. Let's save it. So now we have the footer in the center. So we are all done with our website, which is made using CSS Grid. So CSS, as I said, CSS Grid is a great way of making your website and properly aligning it. So yeah, I hope you learned something from my video, and I will post a next video really soon and come up with a new tutorial so that you can learn along with me. So yeah, please subscribe to my channel and click the notification bell so that you get notified when I upload the next video. And yeah, bye for now.